My name is Elena Thompson, and I'm about to ruin my husband's life in front of everyone he thinks matters. But first, the moment that changed everything. The boardroom door swung open with that theatrical flourish only Marcus could pull off. He marched in as if he owned the place, because in his mind he did. His hand possessively cupped the small of Sophia Rivera's back as he steered her to the head of the conference table, where I was already waiting. The other board members shifted in their leather chairs. David Chen, our CFO and Marcus's oldest friend, couldn't bring himself to meet my eyes. Rebecca Martinez, my closest ally, sat rigid, barely containing her fury. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Marcus cleared his throat and offered that $1,000,000 smile that had once made me fall for him 12 years ago. Now it only made my stomach churn. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, voice laced with confidence, "I've called this meeting to discuss some exciting changes to our company structure." I watched him the way a hawk watches prey. Every gesture, every smug curl of his mouth, every carefully measured word. Exactly the performance I had been waiting for. The manila folder before me felt warm under my fingertips. 8 months of planning, documenting, and plotting had led to this. Sophia stood beside him in a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her perfectly manicured nails flashed as she rested a hand on Marcus's shoulder. She had no idea what was coming. Neither did he. "As you all know," Marcus continued, chest swelling with pride, "Sophia has been an incredible addition to our team. Her fresh perspective and innovative ideas have already transformed our creative department." I almost laughed. Fresh perspective. The only thing fresh about Sophia was how quickly she'd crawled into my husband's bed and started spending our company's money. Marcus turned to me with those cold blue eyes that once held warmth. "Elena has done wonderful work over the years," he said, "but it's time for new leadership. Time for someone who understands the modern market." The room hushed. You could hear the air conditioning hum. Rebecca's pen snapped in her hand. Then he said the words I'd been praying for. The ones that would seal his fate. "Sophia will be replacing Elena in all company operations," he declared, his arm sliding possessively around Sophia's waist. "She's fresher, smarter, better, and not just here in the boardroom." His smile turned cruel. "She's replacing her at home too." Gasps fluttered around the table. David went pale. Rebecca looked like she wanted to leap across and throttle him with her bare hands, but I simply smiled. The uncomfortable laughter that followed was exactly what I expected. Nervous chuckles from people unsure how to react to a man publicly humiliating the woman who'd helped build the company from nothing. Marcus soaked it up like applause. Sophia giggled and pressed closer to him, convinced she'd won something. They had no idea they were about to lose everything. I opened my manila folder slowly, deliberately. The rustle of paper sliced through the nervous laughter like a blade. Every eye swung to me. "That's interesting, Marcus," I said, my voice unnervingly calm. "Because I have something fresher, smarter, and unequivocally better right here." The laughter evaporated. The room fell so silent I could hear my own heart pounding. Marcus's confident smile wavered for the briefest moment. "Elena, what are you— 8 months?" he stammered. I cut him off, sliding out the first document. 8 months of evidence. 8 months of watching you siphon from our company. 8 months of logging every lie, every theft, every betrayal. Sophia went pale. Marcus's mouth worked without making a sound, like a fish out of water. I looked straight at the camera Rebecca had secretly set up to record the meeting. And 8 months of planning the sweetest revenge you'll ever see. What do you think Elena discovered? Drop your guesses in the comments below and hit that like button if you want to see Marcus get what he deserves. The real show was only beginning. 8 months ago, I believed I had the perfect life. Marcus and I had turned Thompson Digital Marketing from nothing into a multi-million-dollar business. We had 2 beautiful children, a stunning suburban home, and what everyone called a power couple marriage. It should have been obvious it was too good to last. It was a Tuesday in March when everything cracked. Marcus said he was working late, as he often did. I was home helping our 8-year-old daughter Emma with her math when his phone, left on the kitchen counter, buzzed. The lock screen preview froze me in place. "Can't wait for tonight, baby." The lingerie you bought me is perfect. S. My hands trembled. S. There was only one S in our company who would text my husband about lingerie, and it wasn't 60-year-old Susan at reception. Sophia Rivera, the young, hungry creative director we'd hired just 2 weeks earlier. I sat at our kitchen island, surrounded by the life we'd built, and watched everything I trusted disintegrate. Emma was still dutifully working her multiplication, oblivious as her mother's world split into 1,000 shards. But Marcus never understood one thing about me: I don't crumble. I strategize. Instead of confronting him that night, I made a choice that changed everything. I would map the full extent of his betrayal. Then I would make him pay for every single lie. The next morning, I walked into the office smiling, murder in my chest. Marcus greeted me with the same kiss on the cheek he'd given me for 12 years, but I could smell her perfume on his collar. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, the practiced line. "Sleep well?" "Like a baby," I lied, returning his fake warmth. I watched him with different eyes all day. The way he lingered at Sophia's desk during coffee, volunteered to review her proposals, the private meetings that kept going. Once you knew what to look for, the pattern was obvious. That evening, I started my investigation. While Marcus showered, I scrolled through his phone. What I found made my stomach turn: months of texts, photos, and plans for secret rendezvous. Their affair began in her second week on the job, but the messages revealed something darker than infidelity. They were talking money, company money. The new client account should give us plenty to work with. Marcus had written to her, "I'll transfer the funds to the consulting budget." No one checks those receipts closely. My husband wasn't just cheating. He was siphoning company money to finance his affair. I captured screenshots of everything and saved them to a secure cloud. Then I put his phone back exactly where I'd found it. Over the next few weeks, I played the oblivious wife to perfection, smiling when Marcus praised Sophia's work, nodding when he blamed late nights on important client calls, even suggesting we invite the whole team, including Sophia, to our anniversary party. Behind the scenes, though, I was assembling a case to ruin him. I started combing through every financial detail: expense reports, client payments, budget allocations. What I found made my stomach drop. Marcus had been systematically bleeding Thompson Digital dry for months, routing funds through fake consulting contracts and padded expense claims. Worse, he'd been using company money to buy presents for his mistress. The very company I'd helped build from nothing, the company meant to secure our children's future. I documented everything: photos of receipts, copies of bank statements, recordings of suspicious calls. I built a timeline of each theft, every lie, every betrayal. Marcus thought himself clever, but he had no idea he'd married someone who knew this business inside and out. By the end of the first month, I had enough evidence to put him behind bars. But prison felt insufficient. I wanted him to lose everything, just as he'd planned to make me lose everything. A perfect revenge. 2 months into my investigation, I knew I needed help. I needed allies, and I knew who to trust. David Chen had been Marcus's partner since day one, and he was a man of principle. I'd watched him grow more uneasy with Marcus's favoritism toward Sophia. My chance came on a Thursday when Marcus claimed a client meeting, but his calendar showed a 2-hour gap, and Sophia had mysteriously called in sick. I knocked on David's office door. "Do you have a minute?" I asked. He looked up, troubled. "Of course, Elena, come in." I closed the door, took a breath, and said, "I need to show you something. Keep an open mind." He frowned. "What's going on?" I put my tablet in front of him and pulled up the financials I'd been dissecting. "Look at these expense reports from the last 6 months. Notice anything odd?" He scanned the numbers, his face shifting from puzzlement to concern to anger. "These consulting fees," he said. "These companies don't exist. I've never heard of half of these vendors." "Because Marcus created them," I said quietly. "He's been stealing from the company." David went pale. "How much?" he asked. "Nearly $200,000, I replied. He sank back as if I'd knocked the wind from him. "Why would he do this?" "Elena, this could destroy everything we've built." I showed him the messages between Marcus and Sophia. He read them in silence, jaw tightening with every line. When he finished, he looked up at me with a raw mix of anger and disbelief. "How long have you known?" he asked. 2 months, I said. "I've been documenting everything. What do you need from me?" That was David, direct, practical, ready to do the right thing. "Access to the financial systems Marcus thinks you can't see," I said, "and your help protecting our legitimate assets." David nodded, expression hardening. "You have it. My next recruit was Rebecca Martinez. As head of operations, she controlled personnel files, security footage, and employee communications, and she had zero tolerance for injustice. I cornered her the following week during our usual lunch. Rebecca and I had been friends since college. She'd been my rock when Marcus started edging me out of decisions. "Rebecca," I said, picking at my salad, "what would you do if someone was stealing from the company?" She looked up sharp. "Make sure they never work anywhere again," she replied. I told her everything. The affair, the embezzlement, Marcus's plan to push me out. Her face darkened with every word. "That bastard," she breathed when I finished. "Elena, we have to stop him." "We will," I said. "But I need you." Rebecca's smile turned fierce. "What do you need?" "Security footage after hours, email logs, and a running list of every time Sophia leaves early or calls in sick." "Done. Also, quietly transfer our most valuable client relationships to secure accounts. If Marcus tries to strip the company, I want the best clients to come with me." For the next month, the three of us moved like a finely tuned machine. David supplied financial pulls that revealed the full scope of Marcus's theft. Rebecca logged suspicious meetings, unexplained absences, and policy breaches. The most damning intelligence, though, came from an unexpected place: Sophia's carelessness. She'd saved Marcus's banking details and passwords on her work laptop and was snapping photos of confidential client files to a personal cloud. She wasn't just sleeping with my husband. She was preparing to steal our trade secrets. One night, as I sat in my home office combing through the growing file of evidence, a cold, satisfied calm settled over me. Marcus thought he'd been playing a sophisticated game. He couldn't have known I was about to overturn the whole board. By month 4, his arrogance had bloomed into recklessness. He disappeared for hours with Sophia under the pretense of brainstorming, began wearing pricier clothes and a new cologne I never bought him, and treated me like a stranger in my own company. His hubris was my ally. In a staff meeting in late June, Marcus publicly announced a leadership shakeup. "We need fresh blood and management," he proclaimed without so much as a glance in my direction. "People who understand where the market is heading." I sat there, outwardly composed, taking notes like the dutiful wife everyone expected. Inside, Rebecca's app was recording every word. After the meeting, I wandered the hallway and caught Marcus and Sophia whispering in his office. The door cracked open just enough that their voices spilled into the corridor. "When are you going to tell her?" Sophia asked, syrupy and calculating. "Soon," Marcus said. "I'm meeting with the lawyers next week to sign the divorce papers. Once I control the company assets, Elena won't have a choice but to accept whatever settlement I offer. Then we can be together officially. Baby, we'll have everything: the company, the house, the money. Elena will be lucky if she gets enough to rent a tiny apartment." I pressed my back to the wall, my heart a dangerous drum of fury and cold satisfaction. He was handing me everything I needed to ruin him. That night I made a choice that would lock his fate in place. I let him believe he was winning. I slipped into the role of the defeated wife. I stopped interrogating him about late nights, ignored the perfume on his collar, and began dropping hints that I felt overwhelmed by the business. "Maybe you're right," I said one bleary morning at breakfast, letting my voice sound weary and uncertain. "Maybe I should step back from day-to-day operations and focus on the kids." Marcus's face lit up like it was Christmas. "I think that's wise, Elena. You've worked so hard for so many years. You deserve a break." What he didn't realize was that I was weaponizing his arrogance. Every meeting he excluded me from was recorded by Rebecca. Every transfer through his bogus consulting accounts was logged by David, Every lavish business trip with Sophia came with receipts I filed and lies I documented. The most incriminating evidence, though, came straight from Sophia. Rebecca, using the company's IT monitoring, had accessed Sophia's laptop and found a meticulous diary detailing her affair with Marcus and her future plans. It was a jackpot. Sophia had written about Marcus's promises to leave me, his scheme to strip the company, and, chillingly, her own plan to sell client data to competitors after she gained system access. "Marcus is so easy to manipulate," one entry read. "He thinks he's using me, but I'm getting everything. Once I have the client files, I can sell them to Richardson Associates and start my own agency. Marcus won't see it coming." I printed every page and slid it into my mounting dossier. The final piece slid into place when Marcus made his worst mistake. He began bringing Sophia to client meetings that had always included me, introducing her as his partner and slowly erasing my role. After one such session, our largest client called me directly. "Elena," Mr. Harrison's voice held real concern, "I'm confused about the changes at your company. Marcus brought this young woman to our strategy meeting and said she's taking over our account. But you've been our contact for 8 years. What's going on?" This was my opening. "Mr. Harrison," I said, measured and calm, "I think there may be a miscommunication. Could we meet privately next week? I have concerns about the direction of your account." "Absolutely," he replied. "I've always trusted your judgment, Elena." I hung up smiling. Marcus believed he was stealing my clients. Instead, he was pushing them straight into my hands. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for him to walk right into it. Month 6 brought the confirmation I'd been both dreading and craving. Marcus had filed for divorce. I found the papers tucked in his desk drawer while he was out on yet another supposed client lunch with Sophia. The legal filings were mercilessly clinical. He demanded full control of Thompson Digital Marketing and offered a settlement that wouldn't even cover our children's college. Attached to the divorce packet was an even crueler document, a business restructuring plan designed to rob me of everything I'd helped build. Marcus planned to force a buyout of my shares at a fraction of their worth, citing recent performance issues that he himself had engineered through embezzlement. I photographed every page and sent them straight to Jennifer Walsh, the lawyer I'd been quietly consulting for weeks. Her reply arrived within hours. "Elena," she wrote, "this is financial fraud on multiple levels. He's trying to steal your half while deliberately devaluing the company through criminal acts. We can ruin him in court." But I didn't want ruin in a courtroom. I wanted him destroyed in front of every person who mattered to him. That night, I set the papers on our kitchen table and sat him down for what he assumed would be an easy conversation. "I found these," I said softly. Marcus managed a flicker of discomfort, but then slid back into the performance I'd come to expect. "Elena, I think this is best for both of us," he said. "We've grown apart, and the business needs fresh direction." "The settlement seems modest," I observed, keeping my tone level. "The company isn't what it used to be," he lied smoothly. "Market conditions, increased competition. I'm actually being generous." I nodded as if I believed him. "I suppose you're right. You always were better with the business side." The relief on his face was almost absurd. He genuinely thought I'd accept his betrayal without contest. "I'm glad you're being reasonable about this," he said, reaching to pat my hand. "Sophia and we have plans for the company. Big plans." "I'm sure you do," I replied, withdrawing my hand. "When do you want to make this official?" "I was thinking we could announce the restructure at next month's quarterly board meeting." "Make it clean and professional." "Perfect." He was preparing the stage for his own undoing. Over the following weeks, I sped up our preparations. David and I quietly secured the company's critical assets, moving key contracts and client relationships into protected accounts. Rebecca cataloged every instance of Marcus's misconduct, building a timeline that would be impossible to refute. My most vital work, though, was personal. I met with Harrison Industries, our largest client, and laid out the proof of Marcus's embezzlement and Sophia's plan to sell their confidential files. Mr. Harrison was outraged. "Elena, we've trusted Thompson Digital with our most sensitive strategies," he said. "If this gets out, it won't," I assured him. "But I need you to trust me for a few more weeks. Can you do that?" He nodded, grim. "What do you need from us?" "Be prepared to move your account when I give the signal." I had the same conversation with 3 other major clients. By month's end, I'd secured agreements that would take nearly 60% of our revenue with me when I left Thompson Digital. Marcus, meanwhile, was perfecting his triumphant reveal. He and Sophia rehearsed the new direction presentation for hours. He even bought a new suit for the occasion. The irony was delicious. He was polishing the moment he thought would crown him, utterly blind to the collapse I'd engineered. 3 days before the board meeting, Rebecca delivered the final piece I needed, proof that Sophia had already begun selling client data to Richardson Associates, our largest competitor. Wire transfers, incriminating emails, everything. I added it to the file and smiled. Marcus thought we were playing chess. I'd been playing a different, far deadlier game. On the morning of the meeting, I rose at 5 a.m., feeling a clarity I hadn't known in months. Today, Marcus would pay for every lie, every betrayal, every stolen dollar. I brewed coffee in the kitchen while he slept upstairs, probably fantasizing about his future with Sophia. The house, the same place we'd planned our lives together, felt like the staging ground for a war. My phone buzzed with Rebecca's text. "Everything is ready. Recording gear is set in conference room A. David has the financials. Are you sure you want to do this?" I replied, "I've never been more certain." At 7 a.m., I drove to the office separately, telling Marcus I had personal errands. In truth, I needed time to finalize the room and run through the evidence one last time. David was already there, nervous but resolute. "Board members start arriving at 9, he said. Marcus scheduled the meeting for 9:30. Perfect, I thought. That gave us time to ensure everything was flawless. Rebecca arrived minutes later carrying a small bag of equipment. 3 cameras, she whispered. 1 on the head of the table where Marcus will stand, 1 on the board's reactions, and 1 on you. HD video, crystal clear audio. I tested it this morning. I opened my manila folder and spread its contents across the table. 8 months of meticulously organized evidence. Bank statements proving Marcus's theft. Screenshots of texts between him and Sophia. Pages from Sophia's diary outlining her plan to sell client information. Financial records mapping the embezzlement. And the crown jewel, a recording of Marcus and Sophia plotting to take the company and leave me with nothing. Elena, David said softly, are you absolutely certain? Once you present this, there's no turning back. Marcus will be finished. I looked at the man who had watched our company crumble under Marcus's choices and knew what I had to do. He made his choice when he decided to steal from us, I said, when he chose to betray everyone who trusted him. By 8:30, the board members began to arrive. Thomas Richardson, our lead investor, Sarah Kim, our legal advisor, Michael Torres, marketing consultant, Patricia Wells, financial oversight specialist. Each board member greeted me warmly, oblivious to the fact that they were about to witness the most explosive meeting in Thompson Digital's history. Marcus arrived at 9:15 on the dot, swaggering through the office like he owned the building. He wore the new charcoal suit and a red tie, probably Sophia's pick, and she trailed behind in an outfit that likely cost more than most people's monthly rent. Good morning, everyone, Marcus announced as he stepped into the conference room. Thank you all for being here today. We have some exciting announcements. I watched him circulate, shake hands, trade small talk with the board, confident, magnetic, in his element. The man I'd once loved was still visible, buried under layers of greed and arrogance. Sophia stationed herself by the presentation screen, laptop primed with whatever slides Marcus had prepared, and kept throwing smug glances my way as if savoring the humiliation she expected me to endure. Shall we begin? Marcus asked, taking his place at the head of the table. I sat in my usual chair, my manila folder shut before me, hands folded, the picture of someone resigned. Only Rebecca and David knew otherwise. Marcus cleared his throat and launched into his spiel. Ladies and gentlemen, Thompson Digital has reached a crossroads. We need bold new leadership to take us forward. I listened, his gestures, his practiced cadence, Sophia's satisfied smile, and knew they had no idea every word was being recorded. Every movement captured on camera. In minutes, their world would fracture. I brushed my fingers against the edge of my folder and smiled. The calm before the storm was ending. Marcus filled the room with false certainty as he pressed on. Thompson Digital needs leadership that understands the modern marketplace. Leadership not mired in outdated thinking. He waved toward me with casual dismissal. Elena has done admirable work over the years, but it's time for fresh perspectives, time for innovation. The board shifted. Something in the air told them this was off, but they couldn't place it. That's why I'm pleased to announce Sophia Rivera will be taking over Elena's responsibilities, both here and in my personal life. His smile turned vicious as he landed the line that would undo him. She's fresher, smarter, better. The nervous laughter that followed was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I opened my manila folder with slow, deliberate motions. The rustle cut through their chuckles like a knife. That's fascinating, Marcus, I said, voice steady, because I have something that's definitely fresher, smarter, and better right here. I rose, strode to the presentation screen, and hooked up my laptop with the ease of someone who'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced, what you're about to see is 8 months of evidence documenting systematic embezzlement, fraud, and corporate espionage. Marcus's confident grin faltered. Elena, what are you talking about? He demanded. This, I replied, and brought up the first bank statement on the screen. $237,000 siphoned from Thompson Digital through fake consulting contracts. The board inhaled as one. Patricia Wells, our financial oversight specialist, leaned forward, stunned. Those are company funds, someone whispered. Indeed they are, I said, clicking to the next slide. Funds Marcus used to finance his affair with Sophia. Expensive dinners, luxury hotel rooms, designer gifts, even a secret downtown apartment. All documented, all undeniable. Sophia went pale. She grabbed Marcus's arm, but he shrugged her off, his eyes locked on the screen in horror. But wait, there's more, I said, savoring every second of their panic. Sophia, would you like to explain to the board why you've been photographing confidential client files and storing them in your personal cloud account? I displayed screenshots showing dozens of stolen documents. Or perhaps you'd like to discuss the $40,000 payment you received last week from Richardson Associates for selling them our client strategies. I never, Sophia stammered, her guilt written plainly across her face. Thomas Richardson, our lead investor, stood abruptly. You sold our proprietary information to our biggest competitor? It gets better, I said, clicking to the diary entries. According to her own writings, Sophia had planned to steal all client data and launch her own agency. Marcus was just a stepping stone to her real goal. Marcus turned, stunned, staring at Sophia. You were going to leave me. Baby, I can explain, she started, but I cut her off. Oh, but the best part is this recording from last week, I said, playing the audio of Marcus and Sophia plotting to steal the company and leave me with nothing. Marcus's own voice rang out. Elena will be lucky if she gets enough to rent a small apartment. The board erupted. David stood, face flushed with rage. Marcus, how could you steal from your own company, from your own friends? And here's my personal favorite, I continued, displaying the divorce papers Marcus had filed. He planned to buy out my shares at a fraction of their value, citing performance issues he himself had created through embezzlement. Sarah Kim, our legal advisor, scribbled frantically. This is criminal fraud on multiple levels. Marcus, you're looking at serious prison time. But I wasn't finished. While Marcus was planning to steal my company, I said, I was securing our most valuable assets. Harrison Industries, Meridian Corp., and Global Dynamics have all agreed to transfer their accounts to my new agency, effective immediately. Marcus went from pale to green. You can't do this, Elena. This is my company, too. Was, I corrected. The board will be voting to remove you immediately, and the police will be here within the hour to arrest you for embezzlement and fraud. Sophia made a last desperate plea. Marcus, tell them this is all lies. Tell them. Shut up. Marcus finally screamed at her, seeing her for what she truly was. You used me. You were planning to destroy everything. Silence fell as Marcus absorbed the magnitude of his downfall. Company, marriage, freedom, reputation, all evaporating in minutes. I looked into Rebecca's hidden camera and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people ruin themselves. What did you think of Elena's revenge? Satisfying enough? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of justice served. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an epic payback story. An hour later, Marcus was led away in handcuffs. Sophia vanished the same day, likely fleeing the criminal charges she had earned. As for me, I walked out of that boardroom head held high, ready to rebuild something even greater than what I had lost.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.